So for the past month and a half, we've been basically stopped in terms of doing new treatment cycles. But during the past month and a half, I've been doing new patient consultations, new surrogate screenings, new egg donor screenings. We're still doing testing, so guys can come in to have their sperm analyzed, they can pre-sperm. So it's really a great time to get ready, to get prepared for the process. Last week, after the ASPRM guidelines were lifted somewhat, we did begin new treatment cycles. So we're gradually restarting treatments. And I think in our profession, like most professions, it's a new normal. It's a new way to practice, just to minimize risk to the patient. There's definitely not any increase in costs. If anything, I've heard from donor agencies, because people are been out of work, that they're anxious to get everyone, get their donors in treatment sooner. And I have seen some discounts offered by different agencies. So if anything, maybe the prices have decreased a little bit.
We're the same. There hasn't been any effect, decrease or increase in terms of the structure of expenses that we list in our documentation on our website. We have built in some things to help parents, like, for example, delays in payments. In gestational surrogacy contract, it says that the surrogate gets an allowance, a monthly allowance of $250, and we're changing around the times of payments so that maybe they're not started until she actually starts medication toward an embryo transfer. So if there's any delay in getting to that point, the parents wouldn't be paying startup expenses.
COVID-19 is not going to increase costs, certainly. In fact, because we've had this time, we redid some of our cost sheets and we made things a little bit lower just to make it a round number and nicer. So I've been doing that over the past week. So I don't think there's any appreciable change in costs on the IVF clinic side to be expected.
I agree. We are seeing a few additional costs, but it's really mostly for people that are in the process that got stuck in the process before they could move forward. Things like if you were already paying a surrogate's insurance policy, you can't just stop paying the insurance policy. If you're just getting started in the process right now, those things are really not going to apply to you. We're going to have all of that figured out, and the country's going to be open back up again. We're already open back up again in Texas, where we are. For the most part, someone who's already not in the process isn't going to be affected by increased costs.
No, we've actually seen it hold up fairly well, over the last couple of weeks. I think, for us as an agency right now, we're running about kind of 85% of normal on the surrogate side. On the parent side, we're running about 80% of normal. So kind of match times are staying pretty static over the last few weeks. Now, I think, as uncertainty continues to decrease kind of nationwide around coronavirus and the effect of coronavirus, but perhaps the economic recovery does not follow as quickly, my anticipation is we'll actually see an increase in the number of surrogates flow into the field as people see it as an opportunity to, if they've had successful pregnancies in the past and have a kind of a stable life, a good opportunity to kind of supplement their income from a household perspective by going through a journey. So, and actually we have seen a bit more decrease on the egg donor side of things. Again, I think that is probably as uncertainty kind of decreases nationwide around coronavirus. My anticipation is that will probably quickly rebound.
So at this point, we don't really have testing to be able to ensure that they're doing what they can for the COVID. I think that question probably comes from a place of someone who hasn't yet started the process and hasn't yet met a surrogate and really gotten to know them. We like to tell our intended parents that all of the apprehension and all of the worry that you have that she's not doing what she's supposed to do or taking care of herself comes from not really knowing someone firsthand. Right now, she's just a third-party abstract. But once you meet the surrogate and you get to know her as an actual person, you see that she really cares about your child. She wouldn't be in this process if she didn't care about caring carrying your baby healthy, and doing everything in her power to make sure that it's healthy. But she also cares about her own family, because everyone who's a surrogate has children of their own that they're caring for. So she is not willing to take extra exposure or, put herself at risk if it's going to put her own children or the child that she's caring for you in danger.
One thing has been that in terms of monitoring patients, that during this process, now it's definitely, every week it's better. So no, we haven't really seen any effect in terms of patients who are certainly pregnant. And then in terms of new patients that are coming in, we do have in terms of their evaluation is a little bit different, like I was talking to you, as well as doing testing before they're actually cleared to proceed with the, with the process. But that's not any different than, people that are being tested that are not surrogates, that are just, that are trying to make sure that they're not like a carrier of the disease. I have not seen really any adverse effect certainly in terms of surrogates where there have been any issues from the pregnancy perspective, or if they went into labor early or issues with the baby. We haven't really, we have not really seen any issues with that.
Good question. And there's a big difference between how we're handling things internationally and domestically. So, domestically, it's kind of business as usual. Internationally, obviously, there's a lot of travel bans and travel restrictions in place. The interesting nuance of that travel restriction is that it does allow travel to the U.S. from a foreign country if you have a relation to a dependent who is a U.S. citizen. Now, all children born in the U.S. are U.S. citizens. And so if you're pregnant, or if your surrogate is pregnant, rather, with your child, you in some way do have a dependent that is a U.S. citizen or will be a U.S. citizen very shortly. And so geography by geography, we've had success moving the needle with local embassies to allow parents to come to the U.S. For the birth of their child.